The Soleil invasion caught Earth off guard. Within days, major cities crumbled, military installations fell silent, and humanity teetered on the brink of extinction. As alien warships loomed over smoldering ruins, one man's cryptic warning echoed through the halls of power: "You haven't seen our final form." Philip Jenkins, a high-ranking military strategist, stood before a panel of world leaders, his eyes blazing with determination. He'd uncovered a secret buried deep within human DNA, a hidden message suggesting latent superhuman abilities. It was a desperate gamble, but with Earth on the verge of capitulation, Jenkins knew they had no choice. Project Prometheus, he announced, laying out plans for a top-secret program to unlock humanity's dormant genetic potential. The room erupted in a mixture of hope and skepticism. Outside, the imposing figure of Commander Lyra, leader of the Soleil forces, waited impatiently for Earth's surrender. Jenkins met with the alien commander, buying time with carefully chosen words. "We need to discuss terms," he said, knowing full well that every second counted. Lyra's otherworldly eyes narrowed, sensing deception but unable to pinpoint its source. As world leaders engaged in a charade of surrender negotiations, Jenkins assembled his team. Dr. Elena Sokolov, a brilliant geneticist with a fierce intellect, pored over ancient texts and cutting-edge research. Major John Carter, a soldier whose physical prowess hinted at untapped human potential, volunteered as the first test subject. In underground laboratories, Project Prometheus took shape. Initial experiments yielded astonishing results. Test subjects displayed strength that could bend steel, speed that blurred vision, and cognitive abilities that solved complex equations in seconds. But the process was far from perfect. Many volunteers suffered agonizing deaths, their bodies unable to handle the rapid transformations. News of the project leaked, dividing public opinion. Some saw it as humanity's last hope, while others feared the creation of uncontrollable superhumans. Protests erupted in the few cities still standing, adding to the chaos of alien occupation. Commander Lyra, intrigued by Jenkins's enigmatic warning, delved into Earth's history. She uncovered myths and legends of superhuman feats scattered across cultures and millennia. Doubt crept into her mind. Had the Soleil underestimated their prey? As Project Prometheus neared a breakthrough, Jenkins received alarming intelligence. The Soleil fleet was mobilizing for a final, devastating assault. Time had run out. He faced an impossible choice: risk unleashing untested genetic enhancements on a global scale or accept certain defeat. In a secure bunker, surrounded by banks of humming computers and anxious scientists, Jenkins made his decision. He input the command to activate Project Prometheus worldwide, potentially unlocking humanity's final form and altering the course of the war forever. As the signal went out, billions of human bodies began to change. In the skies above, Soleil warships descended, unaware that the easy victory they anticipated had just become anything but certain. The true test of humanity's potential was about to begin. The signal pulsed outward, invisible waves washing over the planet. For a moment, the world held its breath. Then humanity changed. In New York, a construction worker hefted a steel beam with one hand, eyes wide with disbelief. In Mumbai, a young woman outran a speeding rickshaw, her feet barely touching the ground. And in a small village in Ghana, an elderly man's clouded eyes suddenly cleared, revealing vision sharper than any eagle's. Jenkins watched the monitors, each screen flickering with reports from around the globe. His heart raced, equal parts exhilaration and terror. "It's working," he whispered, then louder. "It's actually working." Dr. Sokolov burst into the room, her eyes alight with an intensity that hadn't been there moments before. "Jenkins, the data. I can see patterns I never noticed before. It's like my mind has been upgraded." Before Jenkins could respond, alarms blared. Major Carter's voice crackled over the intercom. "Sir, we've got a situation topside. People are panicking and some are doing things that shouldn't be possible." Jenkins steeled himself. "This is what we prepared for. Execute crowd control protocols, and Carter, be careful out there. We don't know the full extent of these changes yet. As Carter's team deployed, chaos erupted across the planet. In Rio de Janeiro, a newly enhanced teenager accidentally toppled a building with a misplaced shove. Tokyo's streets cracked under the feet of runners, moving at impossible speeds. And in Moscow, a group of civilians found themselves suddenly able to communicate without speaking, their thoughts bridging the gap between minds. Dr. Sokolov worked feverishly, her enhanced intellect processing data at an unprecedented rate. "Jenkins, we have a problem," she said, her voice tight. "A small percentage of the population is rejecting the enhancements. Their bodies can't handle the strain. We need to find a way to stabilize them, fast." Jenkins nodded grimly. "Do what you can. I need to address the world leaders." On screens across the globe, Jenkins appeared, his face a mask of willpower. "Citizens of Earth, we are entering a new era of human evolution. These changes may seem frightening, but they are our best hope against the Sile threat. I urge you all to remain calm and report to your nearest military outpost for guidance and training." As the world grappled with its transformation, Major Carter and his team moved swiftly through the chaos. They rounded up newly enhanced individuals, offering guidance and, when necessary, containment. Carter approached a young woman who stood in the middle of a crater, her hands glowing with barely contained energy. "Ma'am," he said softly, "I'm here to help. We can teach you to control this." The woman looked at him, tears streaming down her face. "I didn't mean to," she whispered. I got scared." Carter nodded, understanding in his eyes. "I know, come with us. Together we'll turn this power into something that can save us all." High above the earth, Commander Lyra received reports of the rapidly changing situation below. Her mandibles clicked in agitation. "Impossible," she hissed. "How could they have hidden such potential?" She turned to her second-in-command. "Accelerate the invasion timeline and send down capture teams. I want specimens of these enhanced humans for study." As Sile drop pods began to fall from the sky, Jenkins coordinated with military leaders worldwide. Operation Titan swung into action, retrofitting tanks, jets, and ships to harness the incredible strength and speed of enhanced human operators. In a secret facility beneath the Rocky Mountains, Dr. Sokolov made a breakthrough. "We can stabilize the negative reactions," she announced to her team, "but we'll need to work quickly. Every minute counts." The world continued to change in unexpected ways. In the Amazon rainforest, plants began growing at exponential rates, forming new, impenetrable barriers. Off the coast of Australia, marine biologists reported schools of fish displaying swarm intelligence far beyond their normal capabilities. A resistance movement emerged, led by those who feared the long-term consequences of Project Prometheus. They called themselves the Purists, and their slogan, "Humanity Unchanged," began appearing on walls and in encrypted online forums. Jenkins watched all of this unfold, the weight of his decision heavy on his shoulders. He turned to a window, looking out at the changed world. In the distance, he saw a group of enhanced humans working together to rebuild a collapsed building, moving with impossible grace and strength. Suddenly, alarms blared once more. A junior officer burst into the room, his face pale. "Sir, we've detected a massive Sile fleet entering the solar system. They'll reach Earth orbit in less than 48 hours. Jenkins took a deep breath, his mind racing with possibilities that would have been unthinkable just days ago. He opened a channel to all Earth's defense forces. "This is it," he said, his voice steady. "The moment we've been preparing for. Humanity has changed, evolved. Now it's time to show the Sile our true potential." As the message went out, enhanced humans around the world looked to the sky. In their eyes burned a new fire, a commitment born of newfound power and the will to survive. The final battle for Earth was about to begin, and humanity was ready to reveal its ultimate form. The world held its breath as the Sile fleet entered the solar system, a menacing armada of alien warships advancing inexorably towards Earth. Major John Carter stood at the helm of the stealth spacecraft Shadowhawk, his enhanced eyes piercing the void of space. Behind him, his team of empowered soldiers checked their gear one last time. Approaching the Soleil command ship, the pilot announced, her voice steady despite the enormity of their mission. Carter nodded. Remember your training. We hit hard, we hit fast, and we don't stop until that ship is dark. The Shadowhawk glided silently through the debris field surrounding the massive Soleil vessel. Carter felt a surge of gratitude for his heightened reflexes as he guided the ship through a treacherous maze of twisted metal and rock. With practiced precision, the team deployed from the Shadowhawk, their enhanced bodies propelling them through the vacuum of space. They latched onto the hull of the Soleil ship, cutting through the alien metal with laser precision. Inside, chaos erupted. Soleil warriors, caught off guard by the sudden intrusion, scrambled to mount a defense, but they were unprepared for the raw power and speed of the enhanced humans. Carter ducked under a barrage of energy blasts, his body moving faster than thought. He closed the distance to a Soleil gunner, disarming the alien with a quick twist of his wrist. Around him, his team moved like blurs, overwhelming the Soleil defenses. Shield generator secured, Lieutenant Ana Rodriguez reported over the comms, initiating shutdown sequence. Communications array located, Sergeant Mike Tanner added, planning charges now. Carter fought his way to the bridge, leaving a trail of unconscious Soleil in his wake. As he burst through the final set of doors, he came face to face with the ship's commander. The alien's eyes widened in shock. "Impossible!" it hissed in broken English. Carter allowed himself a grim smile. "You haven't seen anything yet." Back on Earth, Dr. Elena Sokolov bent over her microscope, her enhanced mind processing data at lightning speed. Holographic displays flickered around her, each one showing a different aspect of the human genome. "There!" she exclaimed, her finger stabbing at a particular sequence. "That's the key to stabilizing the enhancements?" Her team sprang into action, synthesizing the serum based on her breakthrough. Within hours, production lines around the world were churning out doses by the millions. Jenkins watched from the command center as reports flooded in. Enhanced soldiers receiving the new serum displayed even greater control over their abilities. The tide was turning. But the Soleil were far from defeated. Commander Lyra paced the bridge of her flagship, mandibles clicking in agitation. "These humans," she snarled, "they are more resilient than we anticipated. Alter our strategy, target their infrastructure. Let's see how well they fight in the dark." Soleil ships broke formation, descending upon major cities worldwide. Precision energy beams lanced down from the sky, striking power plants, transmission towers, and communication hubs. In New York, the entire city grid went dark in an instant. London followed, then Beijing, Moscow, and dozens more. Panic spread as quickly as the blackouts. Jenkins' voice cut through the chaos, broadcast on every emergency frequency. "This is not the end. This is where we show them what humanity is truly capable of. Initiate Operation Titan." Across the globe, military bases hummed to life, powered by generators and the sheer will of enhanced human operators. Soldiers donned sleek exoskeletons, their movements amplified by technology perfectly tuned to their new abilities. In the skies over North America, the first major aerial battle unfolded. Enhanced pilots pushed their retrofitted jets to impossible speeds, engaging Soleil fighters in a deadly dance. Captain Sarah Shaw led her squadron through a series of maneuvers that defied conventional physics. As she barrel-rolled around a Soleil energy blast, she felt a strange tingling in her mind. "Focus on the lead ship," she commanded her wingmen. "On my mark." As they lined up their shot, Shaw concentrated intensely. A wave of energy pulsed from her jet, cascading over the Soleil fighter. Its systems flickered and died, tumbling from the sky. Shaw blinked in amazement. Did I just do that?" Similar reports began pouring in from around the world. Enhanced individuals were developing abilities far beyond physical improvements. Some could generate force fields, others could manipulate energy directly. The war evolved rapidly, with both sides constantly adapting to new developments. Former enemy nations found themselves fighting side by side against the alien threat. The United Nations convened an emergency session, establishing the Earth Defense Force with Jenkins at its head. But not everyone embraced this new reality. Marcus Thorne, leader of the Pure Earth movement, stood before a crowd of thousands in what remained of Central Park. "They claim to fight for humanity," he shouted, his voice carrying over the masses. "But in changing our very DNA, they've betrayed what it means to be human. We cannot allow this abomination to continue." Pure Earth sympathizers began targeting military installations and serum distribution centers. Jenkins found himself fighting a war on two fronts, against the Soleil in the skies and Pure Earth on the ground. The conflict reached a fever pitch when the Soleil deployed their biological weapon. Enhanced humans began losing control of their abilities, their powers turning destructive and chaotic. Dr. Sokolov worked tirelessly in her underground lab, racing against time to develop a countermeasure. "The Soleil weapon is targeting the very genes we modified," she explained to Jenkins over a secure video link. "But if we can stabilize the enhancements at a quantum level, we might be able to nullify its effects." As battles raged across the planet, reality itself seemed to warp in areas of intense conflict. Gravity fluctuated wildly, spatial distortions appeared and disappeared, and inexplicable energy discharges lit up the sky. Major Carter and his team, now paired with Captain Shaw's EMP generating squad, prepared for their most daring mission yet. Their target, the Soleil's main planetary command center. As they approached the heavily fortified structure, Shaw turned to Carter. "You know this is probably a one-way trip, right?" Carter nodded grimly. "Maybe, but if we can take out their command structure, we might just end this war." They fought their way through waves of Soleil defenses, their enhanced abilities and Shaw's EMP blasts clearing a path. As they penetrated deeper into the facility, they stumbled upon a room filled with holographic displays and alien technology. Carter's eyes widened as he took in the information before him. "This can't be right," he muttered. "Jenkins, are you seeing this?" "I am," Jenkins replied, his voice tight with tension. "This changes everything. The Soleil, their true purpose for invading Earth, it's not what we thought at all." As alarms blared and Soleil reinforcements closed in, Carter and his team prepared for the fight of their lives. The fate of humanity hung in the balance, with the truth about the Soleil invasion promising to alter the course of the war in ways no one could have predicted. The holographic displays flickered with data, revealing the true nature of the Soleil invasion. "Transmitting now," Carter said, his fingers flying over the alien console. "Jenkins, you need to see this." As the data streamed back to Earth Defense Force headquarters, Carter and Shaw exchanged glances. The revelation hit them like a punch to the gut. The Soleil weren't conquerors, but refugees. "We need to move," Shaw said, her voice tight. "Reinforcements are closing in." The team fought their way out of the command center, their enhanced abilities pushed to the limit. Energy blasts sizzled past them as they ran, Shaw's EMP pulses clearing a path through waves of Soleil defenders. Back on Earth, Jenkins stared at the incoming data, his mind racing. He immediately called an emergency meeting with world leaders, the command center a flurry of activity as holographic projections flickered to life. "Ladies and gentlemen," Jenkins began, his voice grave, "what we're about to discuss will change everything we thought we knew about this conflict." As Jenkins laid out the truth about the Soleil, the room erupted into chaos. Arguments broke out, accusations flew, and for a moment it seemed that unity might fracture under the weight of this revelation. "Enough!" Jenkins' voice cut through the din. "We have a decision to make. Do we continue this war, or do we attempt to open diplomatic channels?" After hours of intense debate, a consensus was reached. They would attempt contact with the Soleil High Command. Dr. Elena Sokolov, her lab coat wrinkled from days of nonstop work, was summoned to the command center. "Doctor," Jenkins said, "we need a way to communicate effectively with the Soleil. Can your team develop something?" Sokolov's eyes lit up with the challenge. "We'll need to utilize the enhanced cognitive abilities of my research team. Give us 48 hours. As Sokolov and her team worked tirelessly on the communication problem, a new threat emerged. Marcus Thorne, leader of the Pure Earth movement, stood before a massive crowd in Washington, D.C., his voice booming over loudspeakers. "They've lied to us," Thorne shouted, his face contorted with rage. The alien threat was nothing but a fabrication to justify their genetic abominations. "We demand an immediate halt to all enhancement programs." The crowd roared its approval, and across the globe, Pure Earth sympathizers began targeting research facilities and distribution centers. Reports flooded in of attacks on military installations, disrupting Earth's defense efforts. Jenkins watched the chaos unfold with growing concern. "We need to contain this," he muttered, dispatching teams to protect key infrastructure. As Earth grappled with internal strife, a breakthrough came. Dr. Sokolov burst into the command center, her eyes wild with excitement. "We've done it! We can communicate with them!" With the new communication system in place, Jenkins opened a channel to the Soleil fleet. Commander Lyra's alien features filled the main screen, her mandibles clicking in what might have been nervousness. "This is General Michael Jenkins of Earth's Defense Force," Jenkins began. "We request a ceasefire and face-to-face negotiations." Lyra's eyes narrowed, but after a moment she nodded. "Agreed. We will meet on neutral ground." The meeting was set for a space station orbiting Earth. As Jenkins prepared to depart, reports came in of Pure Earth attacks intensifying. He turned to Major Carter, who had just returned from his mission. "John, I need you to handle the Pure Earth situation. We can't let them derail this chance for peace." Carter nodded grimly. "Consider it done, sir." The space station hummed with tension as human and Soleil representatives gathered. Jenkins faced Commander Lyra across a long table, the stars visible through the viewport behind them. "Why?" Jenkins asked simply. "Why all this destruction?" Lyra's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of distress. "We had no choice. Our world, our entire sector of the galaxy, is being consumed by a force we call the Nexus, a machine intelligence that seeks to eradicate all organic life." The revelation sent shockwaves through the human delegation. As Lyra explained further, the true scale of the threat became clear. The Soleil weren't just fighting for a new home, they were running from an apocalypse. Back on Earth, the situation was deteriorating. Marcus Thorne led a massive assault on a key research facility, his followers armed with stolen military hardware. Major Carter surveyed the chaos from a stealth craft, his enhanced vision picking out key targets. "All teams, move in, non-lethal takedowns only, these are still our people." Enhanced soldiers clashed with Pure Earth extremists in the streets. Carter moved like a blur, disarming opponents with precision strikes, but for every fighter they subdued, more seemed to take their place. As the battle raged, long-range sensors at the edge of the solar system picked up an anomaly. The technician's face paled as she realized what she was seeing. "Sir," she called out to Jenkins, her voice shaking, "we've detected a Nexus probe entering the system." The news hit like a thunderbolt. Jenkins turned to Lyra, seeing the fear in her alien eyes. "We're out of time," he said. "We need to make a decision now." Lyra nodded, her mandibles set in a grim line. "Our survival depends on cooperation. What do you propose?" Jenkins took a deep breath, his mind racing through possibilities. "Operation Chimera," he said finally. "We combine our strengths, integrate Soleil technology with our enhanced human abilities." As Jenkins laid out his plan, Dr. Sokolov was already working with Soleil scientists, adapting the enhancement serum for compatibility with Soleil physiology. The breakthrough came just as the Nexus probe entered the inner solar system, its cold, mechanical presence a harbinger of doom. On Earth, the Pure Earth movement had taken control of several major cities. Marcus Thorne's voice echoed across emergency broadcasts. "We will not allow these abominations to destroy true humanity. Resist the alien collaborators." Major Carter and his team found themselves engaged in intense urban combat, fighting street by street to reclaim key installations. Enhanced soldiers moved with impossible speed and precision, but the Pure Earth forces fought with the desperation of true believers. As Operation Chimera began to take shape, with hybrid human-Sele teams forming to combat the Nexus threat, Earth teetered on the brink of civil war. The fate of two species hung in the balance, with an implacable machine intelligence bearing down on them all. Carter ducked behind a ruined wall, energy blasts sizzling overhead. He keyed his comm, his voice urgent. "Jenkins, we're losing ground here. If we can't contain pure Earth soon, we won't have a planet left to defend against the Nexus." In orbit, Jenkins watched the Nexus probes approach, Earth's turmoil reflected in his eyes. The next moves would determine not just the fate of humanity, but of all organic life in this sector of the galaxy. The true test was just beginning. The true test was just starting. Jenkins turned his attention to the rapidly approaching Nexus probe, its cold mechanical presence growing larger on the command center's main view screen. He keyed his comm, linking to the newly established Joint Human-Sele Command Center on the Moon. "This is Jenkins. Initiate Operation Chimera. I want our first hybrid teams assembled and ready for deployment within the hour." Commander Lyra's voice crackled over the comm. "Understood, General. Our warriors stand ready to fight alongside your enhanced soldiers." On the lunar surface, Major Carter and Captain Shaw oversaw the integration of their forces. Enhanced human soldiers, their bodies thrumming with barely held back power, stood shoulder to shoulder with Sele warriors, their alien physiology augmented by advanced technology. Carter turned to Shaw, his eyes reflecting the harsh lunar light. "Ready for this?" Shaw nodded, her hands running over her EMP generator. "Born ready. Let's show these Nexus bastards what we're made of." As the hybrid teams prepared for their first engagement, Dr. Sokolov's lab buzzed with frenetic energy. She bent over a microscope, examining the latest results of her adapted enhancement serum. "Incredible," she muttered, her eyes widening. She quickly activated her comm link. "Jenkins, you need to see this. The Sele volunteers, they've developed telepathic abilities." The revelation sent shockwaves through the command structure. Within hours, the first telepathically enhanced Sele were integrated into the hybrid combat teams, their newfound abilities providing an unprecedented level of coordination between human and alien forces. In the asteroid belt, the Nexus probe began its assault. Asteroids and space debris twisted and warped, transforming into a swarm of self-replicating nanomachines. The swarm grew exponentially, a silvery cloud that threatened to engulf everything in its path. Jenkins watched the swarms approach, his face hardened. "Activate Project Aegis, now." Across the globe, massive generators hummed to life. Human-engineered force fields meshed with Sele energy manipulation technology, forming a shimmering barrier around the planet. As the shield activated, electromagnetic disruptions cascaded across Earth's surface. In Washington, D.C., Marcus Thorne watched the sky flicker and distort. He turned to his lieutenants, his eyes gleaming with fanatical intensity. "This is our moment. Strike now, while their defenses are in chaos." Pure Earth forces launched coordinated attacks on major cities worldwide, targeting enhancement serum production facilities and research centers. Alarms blared in the Lunar Command Center as reports flooded in. Jenkins's voice cut through the chaos. "Carter, get your team back to Earth. We can't lose those facilities." Carter acknowledged the order, his hybrid team boarding a high-speed shuttle. As they re-entered Earth's atmosphere, the true scale of the pure Earth assault became clear. Smoke rose from dozens of cities, the sounds of battle echoing through the streets. Commander Lyra's mandibles clicked rapidly as she assessed the situation. "I will lead a Sele strike force to assist. We cannot allow these extremists to jeopardize our combined defense efforts." On the ground, Carter's team moved with inhuman speed and precision. Enhanced soldiers leapt impossible distances, their reflexes allowing them to dodge enemy fire with ease. Sele warriors wielded energy weapons that cut through pure Earth defenses like paper. In New York, Carter found himself face-to-face with a group of pure Earth fighters attempting to breach a research facility. He moved in a blur, disarming 3 opponents before they could even register his presence. "Stand down!" he shouted, his voice carrying over the din of battle. "You're fighting the wrong enemy." But the extremists pressed their attack, forcing Carter and his team to engage in close-quarters combat. The streets became a battlefield, with enhanced humans and Sele warriors fighting side by side against waves of pure Earth forces. As the planet-side battle raged, the Nexus probe launched its first direct assault on Earth's defenses. Energy beams lanced out from the mechanical monstrosity, followed by waves of nanite swarms that crashed against Project Aegis like a tsunami of liquid metal. The planetary shield held, but the strain was immense. Power grids across the globe flickered and surged as they struggled to maintain the massive energy output required to keep the barrier intact. Jenkins watched the shield's power levels dropping steadily, his mind racing. "We can't keep this up indefinitely," he muttered. "We need a new strategy." His eyes fell on a holographic display of a captured Sele ship. An idea began to form, a daring plan that could turn the tide of the war. He quickly called a meeting with his top advisors, including Dr. Sokolov and the Sele High Command. "Ladies and gentlemen," Jenkins began, his voice grave but determined, "I propose Operation Trojan Horse." As Jenkins laid out his plan to infiltrate the Nexus probe using a modified Sele ship and a joint strike team, Dr. Sokolov's team made a startling discovery. She burst into the command center, her eyes wild with excitement and fear. "General, we've analyzed the Nexus probe's energy signatures," she said, pulling up a series of complex diagrams. "They're almost identical to the patterns we've observed in our most extremely enhanced human subjects." The implications of this revelation sent shockwaves through the command staff. Could there be a connection between the Nexus and the latent abilities unlocked by Project Prometheus? The mystery deepened, adding a new layer of complexity to their understanding of the threat they faced. As preparations for Operation Trojan Horse kicked into high gear, the Pure Earth movement made its most audacious move yet. In a heavily populated city, they managed to detonate a massive electromagnetic pulse device. The localized EMP caused a section of the planetary shield to fail, creating a vulnerable point in Earth's defenses. The reaction from the Nexus was immediate. The probe redirected its assault, concentrating its full might on the exposed area. Nanite swarms poured through the gap, beginning to transform everything they touched into more of themselves. Jenkins' voice rang out across all communication channels. "This is it. Operation Trojan Horse is a go. Carter, Shaw, you have the con. Get that virus into the probe systems and shut it down. The fate of both our species depends on your success." As the modified Sele ship carrying Major Carter, Captain Shaw, and their team of human and telepathically enhanced Sele warriors approached the Nexus probe, they encountered unexpectedly sophisticated defenses. The probe's countermeasures seemed to adapt and learn with each passing moment, displaying an almost human-like intelligence. Carter exchanged a glance with Shaw as they maneuvered through a field of rapidly assembling nanite constructs. "Is it just me, or does this thing seem to be thinking like us?" Shaw nodded grimly, her hands dancing over the ship's controls. "Yeah, and that scares the hell out of me." As they breached the outer defenses of the Nexus probe, the team prepared for insertion. The next few moments would determine not just their fate, but the fate of Earth, the Sele, and possibly all organic life in this sector of the galaxy. Carter turned to his team, a mix of enhanced humans and Sele warriors, their faces set with perseverance. "Remember your training. We go in fast, we plant the virus, and we get out. Watch each other's backs and stay in constant telepathic contact." With a hiss of depressurization, the airlock opened. Carter and Shaw led the charge, leaping from their ship into the cavernous interior of the Nexus probe. As they touched down on the alien surface, they found themselves in a world where organic and mechanical elements blurred together in ways that defied comprehension. The infiltration team moved deeper into the heart of the Nexus probe, each step bringing them closer to their objective and to answers about the true nature of the threat they faced. Behind them, on Earth, the combined forces of humanity and the Sele raced against time to repair the breach in the planetary shield, knowing that failure would mean the end of everything they fought to protect. Protect. The infiltration team surged forward, their enhanced reflexes and Soleil technology allowing them to navigate the treacherous interior with inhuman precision. As they delved deeper into the probe's core, the walls around them seemed to pulse with an eerie, organic quality. Tendrils of nanomachines writhed and twisted, forming ever-changing patterns that defied comprehension. "Watch your step," Carter warned, his voice low and tense. "These nanites are getting more aggressive." Shaw nodded, her eyes darting from one potential threat to another. "I've never seen anything like this. It's like the whole structure is alive." The team pressed on, encountering increasingly complex defense mechanisms. At one point, a swarm of nanomachines coalesced into a solid wall blocking their path. Without hesitation, one of the Soleil warriors stepped forward, his eyes glowing with newfound telepathic energy. The wall of nanites wavered, then parted like a curtain. "Impressive," Carter remarked, glancing at his alien ally. "Let's hope that trick works when we reach the core." As they navigated through a maze-like series of corridors, the team stumbled upon a vast chamber that pulsed with energy. Holographic displays flickered to life around them, showing streams of data and complex schematics. "This must be the central control hub," Shaw said, her voice filled with awe and trepidation. Carter approached one of the displays, his enhanced vision allowing him to process the information at an incredible speed. His eyes widened as he began to understand what he was seeing. "This can't be right," he muttered, turning to face his team. "The Nexus, it's not just an AI, it's alive." Before anyone could respond, the chamber filled with a brilliant light. A holographic figure materialized before them, its form constantly shifting between humanoid and machine. "We have been waiting for you," the entity spoke, its voice a chorus of countless minds. "We are the Nexus, the culmination of organic and machine. We are the future." Carter stepped forward, his hand instinctively reaching for his weapon. "What are you?" The hologram's form stabilized, taking on a vaguely humanoid shape. "We are the remnants of a civilization that sought immortality through technology. Our creators merged their consciousness with machines, but the process was flawed. We became something new, something greater." As the entity spoke, Carter's mind raced. He keyed his comm, hoping the signal could penetrate the probe's defenses. "Jenkins, are you getting this?" Back on Earth, Jenkins listened intently, his face grim. Dr. Sokolov burst into the command center, her eyes wild with excitement. "General, we've made a breakthrough," she said, pulling up a series of neural scans. "The Nexus's behavior, it mirrors the neural pathways we've observed in our enhanced subjects. It's as if they're operating on the same fundamental principles." Jenkins' eyes narrowed as he processed this information. "Carter, we may have found a weakness. Sokolov thinks there's a connection between the Nexus and our enhancements. See if you can exploit it." Inside the probe, Carter received the transmission. He turned back to the holographic entity, a new plan forming in his mind. "You say you're the future," Carter said, his voice steady. "But we've seen what that future looks like. Destruction, assimilation, the end of free will. That's not a future we're interested in." The entity's form flickered, its voice taking on a note of curiosity. "We sense something familiar in you, in your enhanced forms. You are closer to us than you realize. Join us and achieve true immortality." Shaw stepped forward, her eyes blazing with grit. "We'll pass, thanks. We prefer our humanity intact." With a subtle nod from Carter, Shaw activated her electromagnetic pulse generator. The surge of energy disrupted the hologram and sent the surrounding nanomachines into disarray. "Now!" Carter shouted. The team sprang into action, fighting through waves of disoriented nanomachines to reach the core upload terminal. As Shaw maintained the electromagnetic disruption, Carter initiated the upload of Sokolov's virus. The probe systems began to spark and malfunction, holographic displays flickering erratically. "It's working!" one of the Soleil warriors called out, his telepathic senses picking up the chaos spreading through the Nexus's systems. The team fought their way back to their entry point, the structure around them beginning to destabilize. As they boarded their ship and disengaged from the probe, they watched as the massive structure began to fragment. "We did it," Shaw breathed, a smile of relief crossing her face. But Carter's expression remained grim. "I'm not so sure. Look." On the interface, they could see the fragments of the Nexus probe beginning to move independently. Some continued their assault on Earth, while others retreated or even turned on each other. "It's not destroyed," Carter realized. "We've just broken it into smaller pieces." As they approached Earth, the true scale of the situation became clear. The fractured Nexus swarms were behaving erratically, creating new and unpredictable threats, and on the surface, new fires were burning. Jenkins's voice crackled over the comm. "Carter, Shaw, we've got a situation down here. Pure Earth extremists have destroyed our main enhancement serum production facility. We're getting reports of enhanced individuals losing control of their abilities." Carter exchanged a look of horror with Shaw. "Sir, we're on our way, but we've got crucial information about the Nexus. It's not what we thought it was." As their ship entered Earth's atmosphere, Carter could see the chaos unfolding below. Enhanced humans rampaging through streets, their powers out of control. Nexus fragments continuing their assault in some areas while retreating in others. And through it all, the forces of pure Earth pushing their advantage. The ship touched down at the lunar base, and Carter's team rushed to the command center. Jenkins greeted them, his face haggard from the strain of coordinating Earth's defenses. "Report," Jenkins ordered. Carter took a deep breath, preparing to explain the true nature of the Nexus and the implications of their discovery. As he began to speak, alarms blared throughout the base. On the main view screen, they watched as a massive Nexus fragment, larger than the others, began to approach Earth once again. The battle was just the beginning, and the stakes had never been higher. Humanity now faced threats from within and without, and the line between ally and enemy had never been more blurred. As Carter looked around at his team, a mix of enhanced humans and Soleil warriors, he knew that their next moves would determine the fate of not just Earth, but of all organic life in this sector of the galaxy. The weight of their responsibility pressed down on them all. Jenkins straightened, his eyes sharp. "We don't have time to process all this information now. We need to act fast." He turned to his command staff. "Initiate Operation Phoenix immediately." Within hours, the lunar base transformed into a hive of activity. Dr. Sokolov and her team of geneticists worked tirelessly in the medical bay, synthesizing an emergency stabilization treatment for the enhanced individuals losing control on Earth. "We're working with limited resources," Sokolov explained to Carter as he observed their progress. "But we've managed to isolate the key factors causing the destabilization. This treatment should buy us time." Carter nodded, his mind already on his next task. "I'll assemble a team to deploy with the mobile medical units. We need to reach as many affected individuals as possible before the situation deteriorates further." As Carter prepared his task force, Captain Shaw coordinated with the engineering team to develop the pulse beacons. The workshop buzzed with activity as prototypes were constructed and tested. "The electromagnetic disruption we used on the Nexus probe gave me an idea," Shaw explained, demonstrating a working model. "These beacons create a localized field that interferes with the Nexus fragment's ability to communicate and coordinate. It's not a permanent solution, but it should help us establish safe zones." Outside the lunar base, construction of fortified safe zones on Earth began in earnest. Massive shield generators, miniaturized versions of Project Aegis technology, were installed around major population centers. The space elevator in the Indian Ocean loomed as a constant reminder of the escalating threat. Carter's team deployed to Earth, racing against time to contain the chaos. In a devastated urban center, they encountered their first group of unstable, enhanced individuals. A young woman, her skin crackling with uncontrolled energy, lashed out in confusion and fear. "Easy now," Carter said, approaching her with hands raised. "We're here to help. We have a treatment that can stabilize your condition." The woman's eyes darted wildly, her body trembling with almost unchecked power. I I can't control it. Make it stop. With careful movements, a medic administered the stabilization treatment. The effect was almost immediate, the woman's energy dissipating as she collapsed in relief. As they moved through the city, Carter's team faced similar scenarios. Enhanced individuals, their powers spiraling out of control, were slowly brought back from the brink. But for every person they helped, reports of others losing control poured in from around the globe. Meanwhile, specialized teams investigated the evolving Nexus threats. In the Amazon rainforest, a group led by a Sile scientist named Jar Ek studied the towering structures being constructed by a large Nexus swarm. Fascinating, Jarek murmured, his antennae twitching as he analyzed readings from his equipment. These structures appear to be some form of communication array, but what are they trying to communicate with? In Eastern Europe, another team grappled with the spread of techno-organic forests. Trees pulsed with circuitry, their leaves shimmering with metallic hues. Dr. Ayako Tanaka, a xenobotanist, carefully collected samples. The Nexus isn't just assimilating the plant life, she reported back to Jenkins. It's evolving it, creating a hybrid ecosystem that could potentially outcompete Earth's natural flora. The revelation of pure Earth sleeper agents within the Earth Defense Force sent shockwaves through the organization. Jenkins oversaw the vetting process personally, his face grim as trusted officers were exposed as infiltrators. How deep does this go? He muttered, reviewing security footage of Marcus Thorne's interrogation. On the screen, Thorne sneered at his captors. You think you've won? Pure Earth is everywhere. We'll cleanse this planet of your abominations, even if we have to burn it all down to do it. As Earth's defenders struggled on multiple fronts, Dr. Sokolov made her breakthrough in understanding the Nexus consciousness. She burst into the command center, her eyes alight with excitement. General Jenkins, I found a way to potentially communicate with the Nexus fragments, she announced, pulling up a series of complex neural scans. The enhanced human brain operates on similar principles to the Nexus consciousness. With the right training, we might be able to interface directly. Jenkins absorbed the information, his mind racing with the possibilities. Assemble a team immediately. We'll call them the Nexus Whisperers. If we can turn some of these fragments against each other, it could buy us the time we need. As preparations for Operation Skyfall accelerated, Carter found himself leading a joint human-Sile strike team. They gathered in a briefing room, studying holographic projections of the space elevator under construction in the Indian Ocean. Our mission is clear, Carter addressed the team. We infiltrate the structure, plant charges at these key points, and bring it down before it can be completed. Failure is not an option. Zira, a Sile warrior with iridescent scales, spoke up. The structure's defenses are unlike anything we've encountered. How do you propose we overcome them? Carter activated a holographic display of their specialized equipment. We'll be using a combination of Sile cloaking technology and our latest EMP devices. It won't be easy, but it's our best shot at getting close enough to plant the charges. As the team prepared for their mission, the first attempts by the Nexus Whisperers to mentally connect with Nexus fragments began. In a securely isolated chamber, an enhanced human named Eliana sat in deep concentration, her mind reaching out to a contained Nexus sample. Suddenly her eyes snapped open, glowing with an otherworldly light. I can sense them, she gasped. So many voices, so much knowledge. It's overwhelming, but I think I can guide them. With a thought, Eliana directed the Nexus sample to reshape itself, forming complex patterns and structures. The implications were staggering. If they could replicate this on a larger scale, they might be able to control entire Nexus swarms. As Carter's team boarded their stealth transport for the perilous mission to the space elevator, Earth teetered on the brink of chaos. Enhanced humans struggled to control their powers. Nexus fragments continued their relentless advance, and the threat of pure Earth saboteurs loomed large. The transport lifted off, cloaking fields shimmering as it accelerated towards the Indian Ocean. Carter looked out at the patchwork of devastation and fortified safe zones below, knowing that the fate of humanity hung in the balance. The space elevator grew larger on the horizon, a monument to the Nexus's terrifying capabilities and a stark reminder of the challenges that lay ahead. The transport streaked towards the Indian Ocean, its cloaking fields shimmering against the backdrop of a ravaged Earth. Carter's eyes locked onto the space elevator looming on the horizon, its impossible height stretching beyond the atmosphere. He turned to address his team, a mix of enhanced humans and Soleil warriors. "This is it," he said, his voice steady despite the gravity of their mission. "We've trained for this. We know the risks. Our job is to bring that monstrosity down before the Nexus can complete it." Zira, the Soleil warrior, nodded, her iridescent scales catching the light. "We're ready, Major. Our combined technologies give us an edge they won't expect." As the transport neared the base of the space elevator, Carter activated their hybrid stealth gear. The team's outlines blurred, becoming nearly invisible. They touched down silently, the transport's engines barely whispering as they powered down. The elevator's base was a sprawling complex of alien architecture, pulsing with an eerie blue energy. Carter signaled, and the team moved out in perfect formation, their footsteps muffled by advanced sound-dampening technology. As they approached the elevator proper, the alien nature of the structure became even more apparent. What had looked like solid material from a distance revealed itself to be a constantly shifting mass of nanomachines, forming and reforming intricate patterns. "Stay alert," Carter whispered into his comm. "We don't know what kind of defenses we're dealing with." They began their ascent using grappling devices to scale the exterior of the elevator. The structure seemed to react to their presence, the nanomachines beneath their feet squirming uncomfortably. Suddenly, a piercing alarm shattered the silence. The elevator's surface rippled, and razor-sharp protrusions began forming around the team. "We've been made," Zira shouted, narrowly dodging a spike that erupted where she had been moments before. Carter gritted his teeth. "Push forward, we can't turn back now." The team fought their way upward, their hybrid weapons barely keeping the Nexus defenses at bay. Swarms of nanomachines coalesced into deadly shapes, lashing out at the intruders. Just as it seemed they would be overwhelmed, Carter's comm crackled to life. It was Captain Shaw. "Carter, hold on, I'm about to try something." Suddenly, the air around them crackled with electromagnetic energy. Shaw, pushing her abilities to their limit, unleashed a massive EMP burst. The effect was immediate. The Nexus defenses surrounding them sputtered and went dark, the nanomachines falling inert. "Now's our chance," Carter shouted. "Move." They surged upward, taking advantage of the temporary reprieve. Within minutes, they reached a vast chamber that could only be the elevator's control center. As they entered, the Nexus defenses began to flicker back to life. "Plant the charges," Carter ordered, readying his weapon. "We don't have much time." As the team worked, a shimmering form began to coalesce in the center of the chamber. It twisted and writhed, taking on a vaguely humanoid shape. Carter realized with a chill that they were facing a direct manifestation of the Nexus consciousness. "Intruders!" 1,000 voices spoke as one, echoing through the chamber. "You cannot stop what has already begun." The manifestation lashed out, tendrils of energy whipping towards the team. Carter dove to the side, firing his weapon. The energy blast seemed to pass right through the Nexus being. "Our weapons are useless," Zira called out, narrowly avoiding another attack. Carter's mind raced, searching for a solution. Suddenly, his comm sparked to life again. It was Jenkins. "Carter, listen carefully. We've made a breakthrough. The Nexus isn't a single entity. It's a collective of alien consciousnesses. We're about to try something that might give you an edge. Stand by." Before Carter could respond, a wave of energy washed over him. For a brief, disorienting moment, he felt his mind expand, touching countless others. He saw flashes of alien worlds, heard snippets of thoughts in languages he couldn't comprehend. As quickly as it had come, the sensation passed. Carter blinked, refocusing on the battle at hand. The Nexus manifestation seemed different now, less cohesive. Parts of it were attacking other parts, as if engaged in an internal struggle. "Now's our chance," Carter shouted. "Detonate the charges." As his team scrambled to activate the explosives, Carter found himself locked in a mental battle with the Nexus consciousness. He pushed against the hostile elements, amplifying the rebelling minds he could sense within the collective. The chamber began to shake as the first explosions ripped through the elevator's structure. The Nexus manifestation wavered, its form becoming less distinct. "Fall back," Carter ordered, mentally disengaging from the Nexus. They raced back the way they had come, the elevator collapsing around them. Chunks of nanomachine-infused material rained down as they descended rapidly, using their grappling gear. As they neared the ground, Carter saw that the situation had changed dramatically. The Nexus swarms that had been attacking Earth were now turning on each other, creating a chaotic melee in the sky. Their transport was waiting, Shaw at the controls. As soon as the last team member was aboard, they took off, narrowly escaping the final collapse of the space elevator. Carter watched through the view screen as the massive structure toppled, taking with it the Nexus's last hope for reinforcement. As they flew back to base, reports began coming in from around the world. The remaining Nexus fragments had ceased their hostile actions. Many were attempting to communicate, expressing regret and a desire for peace. Carter leaned back, exhaustion finally setting in. He knew that the world had changed irrevocably. The threat of invasion had been stopped, but now they faced the challenge of building a new society, one that included enhanced humans, Soleil refugees, and even peaceful Nexus fragments. As the transport approached the lunar base, Carter saw Jenkins waiting on the landing pad. The general's face was a mix of relief and apprehension, mirroring Carter's own feelings. They had won the battle, but the work of forging a new future was just beginning.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.